Well, hello again there, everyone. And today I wanted to share a few thoughts on this idea that I had that came to me today, which is that when things go terribly or horribly wrong, sometimes we have to backtrack to where that problem began and sort things out. Now, this is in reference especially to, you know, always there's things going on in our lives and in society at large which are rather problematic. Let's look at a couple of them that are taking place right now as an example. We have, especially in the Western world, the destruction of the family, right? Some would say that's not a problem, although we've had a tradition of, thousands and tens of thousands of years of the family. And then all of a sudden you destruct that, well, that can have ramifications. And I think we're seeing them. We don't need to list them, I suppose, but we're seeing them now. Things like depression I know somebody who works in pharmacy, and she has never seen so many bucket loads of depression pills going out the door. It is unbelievable. Almost unbelievable, except it's not unbelievable when we look at the context of it. Unpayable debts. There was a time when people thought, hey, you know what, if I buy something on credit, I should work on paying it off. Whereas now it's like, let's defer, 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 right? Freedom in general is being repressed, is being pushed down, and especially freedom of speech. So there's lots of things that we could talk about. And of course, people are more and more and more polarized, it appears, although that may be a good thing in the long run because at least things are more or less out in the open. They have been anyways in the last few years. But all of these things add up to say, okay, we're going along on this line, on this march of life, individually and as a society. And I believe very strongly we will continue to march for a long, long time. We'll continue to evolve and we'll continue to grow our freedoms and so on. But what I think is that the trajectory that we're on right now is unsustainable. And the reason it's unsustainable is because it's a path that is destructive. And it's a huge, huge problem. And we're going to have to backtrack up a little bit, more and more of us, to figure out where the hell we went wrong. I'm going to share with you something that I wrote about a number of years ago in a book called Coffee Chat, which I've written numerous books by now, and very few of them are known by many people because I have this old saying, I write more books than I sell. But nevertheless, you can find it if you look for it. Now, I have this diagram in here on this page. It's page number 316. There's a picture here, which is hard to see here, but I'll kind of describe it. What it is it's got 4 layers. The top layer is creator. The second layer is created. The third layer is created by man. And the fourth layer is created by abridged man. Now, when I have on the line I have created, I have men, women, men, women, men, women, and so on all the way across, and they're on an even plane, right? In other words, we are that. So we can all agree, or maybe not. Well, rational people can agree. Lots of people today who are going with crazy, they're inventing all kinds of other things, but let's put that aside. What's the old saying? What was the old saying? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and all other genders are from Uranus. So I thought that was, my brother told me about that recently. It was kind of funny. But anyway, that's an aside. Now, on the top line, it's creator. And what I did is I put a big question mark up there. If you can see that quite clearly. There's a big question mark there. Because it's not for me to tell people what their impression of who created them or what created them. Like, whatever it is. And we have lots of variety in the world to show that lots of people have ideas, right? Now, created by man, I put things like government mind control organizations, right? Governmental organizations, the governing of the mind control organizations, and corporate institutions and so on. That's what we see in here. And then below that, we see things that are created. So those are created by man, right? A mind control system is created by man. And then what happens is man enters those self-constructed sort of fantasies, right? And then they create things from there. Things like the corporate soldier of fortune, the corporate city, and then from there they do other things. Like, so the corporate city would have a police armed thugs department. They would have a building permits department. They would have an extortion department, and so on. They would have all of these departments, which are created by abridged man, because man is then operating as something he created. So, for example, a city mayor is not going to any longer say that he's a man or a woman. He's going to say he's the mayor, and therefore he creates something as the mayor. And the way this is structured in this pyramid, if you will, I keep turning this the wrong way, it's like a mirror. So it's down. The further down these creations go, and they start to grow out, they get very, very complicated. Whereas when we go back up, it simplifies things. It simplifies, but we still don't know what it is. But that's to go back up the pyramid. And to me, that is an example of what the old stories of, exalting into heaven versus descending into hell, right? Because we make up all kinds of nonsense. You can see how ridiculous it finally gets into creating even new genders and so on, right? And it's really, really quite, it's like what that person said one time, that evil cannot be understood because it is naturally by its nature chaotic. It doesn't make any sense. So the path that we're currently on is this descent into greater and greater and greater creations that we're continuing to tumble into, enter into, and operate from there, rather than our true self. When somebody asks me, hey, are you a citizen of blah, blah, blah? I say, I'm not sure if I understand the question. So I ask, okay, what is the citizen? The citizen is a legal construct, as far as I understand it, that who made it? Well, man made it. So is that what I am? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Now, I don't know of any human power that has created man other than the involvement of the Sex Act and so on. But what created that? I'm not here to stand on some pulpit and say that it was Jesus or Allah or whatever it was. All I'm saying is there's powers that pre-exist us. And every culture throughout history has revered that, except today's culture. Today's culture has descended into this self-gratification of patting themselves on the back that we're so great, that we've created all this stuff, because we're so scientific and all this stuff. All that science and everything is wonderful. It's just that we've abandoned a tradition that has lasted so long, and this is a fairly modern experiment of this. And I'm saying that we've made a major departure from what we've always had. And I don't know if it's sustainable. I really don't know. Jordan Peterson, for example, not long ago, he was in an interview, and somebody had asked him something about men and women, like, shouldn't men and women be able to work together? And his answer was, we don't know. We don't know, because this has never been done before. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when I was in workplaces where there were no women. And as soon as women came in, everything had to change. Is it workable? I don't know. It's too soon to tell. But it's a grand experiment. And the idea of leaving behind our reverence for whatever it is that we construct as to what created us, and our worshipping of that, to leave that behind is a major, major departure. And I think we have to go backtrack to the point where we left that. Get in touch with that again and see what might have gone wrong from that perspective. It's not like we necessarily have to take it on completely as we did, because obviously there's so much variety in the world of how people revere what they perceive as their creator. But nevertheless, They always did. And yes, people co-opt it and fight wars because of it and whatnot. But they fight wars for all sorts of things as well. All I'm saying is that we've recently departed from that sort of a constitutional concept of reverence for Creator, and we're in a lot of chaos. Now, correlation is not causation. I get it. I get the point. However, it's something to be aware of. Because when this started to happen is when we departed into all this other stuff, right? At one time, we referred to people as men and women. That doesn't happen much anymore. It doesn't happen at all in a legal concept. Even not long ago in Canada, for example, the Canadian Bill of Rights, which, by the way, has been buried into the dustbin of history because it's inconvenient because it says man in there, right? Free men. Canada is a nation of free men. It says something like that in the prologue. And that wasn't very long ago. That was only the 60s, the early 60s. But of course, the 60s completely decimated a lot of that stuff and turned the world upside down, threw religion out with the bathwater and the concept of Creator and what have you. And we're here today. Out went the family and all that sort of stuff. So I think that, we can recognize that we've gone horribly wrong. And we're on a path that's unsustainable. Absolutely, I would say. And just like if we're lost in the woods and we don't know where we are, but we know we can find our way back to where we knew we were, it might be a good idea to get back there and figure this shit out. Because if we keep on trying to figure out where we are from over here and we're lost, we can get a lot more lost, seriously lost, dangerously lost, and not be able to have this thing sustainable. Something to think about anyway. Well, it's great chatting again. Once again, I'm also posting more on BitChute now, and I really appreciate the people who are chiming in there. Actually, more action there than there is on YouTube. Not surprisingly, I suppose, considering all that's going on. But that's great. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.